afternoon, everyone. My name is Dana Fair. I'm here with the ITS Communications team, also representatives from the ITS Web team. Will, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Will. I manage the web and mobile teams.
And then we have our two presenters today from the ITS, I want to get it right, Assistive Tech team, which is part of ITS Support Services. And that's Jane Burles and Brandon Werner. This whole thing about the web strategy is really designed to help you and give you the tools that you need to develop a more effective web presence. And so we've designed these sessions so that you can hear us present on various topics, but then you can also ask questions. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Jane.
All right. Dana, thank you very much. So today we're going to be talking about universal design, but as a prelude, I'm going to talk about accessibility. What is accessibility? And in the context that we use it, accessibility means that your website, your application, whatever you're programming, setting up, works with tools used by individuals who can't see the monitor, can't use a standard keyboard, can't use a standard mouse, and in some cases have needs around being able to understand information. So what we have here is a picture of what's called a refreshable braille device, which is one of the types of tools that a blind person might use to substitute for not being able to see text on a monitor. We have a snapshot of a video that's been captioned, which is going to help somebody who's deaf or hard of hearing, as well as many other audiences, and we'll talk about that a little later. And we have somebody using speech recognition, which is a very common application these days for people who have difficulty using their hands and therefore have difficulty accessing the standard mouse and keyboard. So why do we care about accessibility? First of all, because the university has a commitment. In particular, about 5 years ago, on the ITS website, Laura Patterson made a CIO statement indicating that this was a part of ITS's values. And my understanding from several people that I've talked to at the University of Washington is that this will be maintained as we welcome Kelly Trusvik. Demographics, it's estimated that as high as 20% of individuals in the general population may have a disability, and disability is on a continuum. So it's not just that people may have no ability to see a monitor, but that many more people may have some difficulty seeing a monitor. And the likelihood of that, of course, rises with age. And finally, the university does have legal responsibilities under the Americans with Disabilities Act and under other laws to make sure that students, faculty, and staff are accommodated so that they can be successful in their educational and work environments. The main set of guidelines that govern web accessibility, this is pretty much the international standard now, is the WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. You'll hear them referred to sometimes as WCAG. And WCAG lists 4 principles of web accessibility that are called the POUR principles. The P of POUR is perceivable, and this is going to be pretty much an oversimplification, but you should be able to get the general idea. Perceivable means that people can use enhancements or alternatives to the monitor and still be able to access the important information from the website or application. The O of POUR is operable. It means that you're able to interact with buttons and links and other interactive items even if you're using enhancements or alternatives to the standard keyboard and mouse. The third principle is understandable. The pages are understandable, that they work in predictable ways, and that they prevent or assist with errors, so that as much as possible you want to try to prevent errors from occurring, but if they do occur, users are notified and given ways to address them. And finally, the last principle is robust. And again, as an oversimplification, what that pretty much boils down to is that your code is valid and that your code works as expected, because a lot of the assistive technologies that I've mentioned are dependent on valid code. So if the valid code isn't there, they're not going to work properly. Just like they might not work properly with a browser that's expecting certain coding standards to be in place. So that's accessibility. But what this presentation is really about is universal design. And you'll notice in this picture, there's at least one person with a visible disability. There might be other people with invisible disabilities, such as learning disabilities, which is the largest disability graphic of students on our campus and on most campuses these days. There might be individuals for whom English is an additional language. There might be individuals for whom computers are not particularly familiar. They didn't have a lot of experience using computers in K-12, so they're coming to them as fairly new users. There's a wide range of different needs. And what universal design means is that you are designing not just around accessibility, but to make sure that as many people are going to be able to use your website or your application as possible. And if you're designing for accessibility, in many instances, the universal design is going to be there. So one design consideration is designing to make sure that your website or application works with screen readers, which is a type of application that Brandon is going to talk about. So I will turn things over to him while I get things set up.
Should I sync here?
Yeah.
Okay. As Jane said, I'm going to be talking about screen readers. My name is Brandon Warner. So a screen reader is a piece of assistive technology. It's software that runs on the computer, and it provides alternative access to information displayed on the screen and also mouse commands. So kind of going back to the WCAG guidelines that Jane was talking about for POOR, the perceivable part, is making sure that you can access the information on the monitor. So the screen reader provides access to that via speech or braille, so speaking the text out loud or on the refreshable braille display. And then the operable portion is using the keyboard in place of the mouse, so using keyboard commands to navigate around the screen. So kind of what I'm planning to show today is just a few demos. I'm first going to show navigation with the keyboard around the desktop of the computer, and then I'll be showing navigating around web pages on the internet, and I'll show one page that is very accessible with screen readers and another page that users may find to be a bit more difficult. And sort of one central thing to kind of keep in mind during this demo is that when you're using a screen reader, it's a very different access method from the monitor, because when you think of a monitor, you look at a monitor and you sort of get an overview of the entire screen, or this entire layout. Maybe you have two windows up at the same time, so you can see parts of both those windows, and you can see the taskbar and you can see the clock. A screen reader user is going to hear one thing spoken at a time, or in the case of Braille, a Braille displays one line, so they would feel one thing at a time. Are you still getting things set up? Are you ready here, Jim?
I'm good to go.
Okay.
Thanks.
100. Father roll for Brent.
This one.
Yep,
Yeah.
There you go. Thank
So I'm planning on slowing the speech down, but I just kind of, to get started, wanted to show you a demonstration. Usually blind individuals listen to the speech of the computer very fast, because if you think about it, if you look at the screen, you can get a very large overview. So as a blind person, you sort of want to compensate for this by listening quickly. So I'm going to slow down the speech now.
NVDA menu, preference tab, more settings, variable rate, side 64, 54, 44, rate boost rate 34, 24, 26.
Is this a good feature rate for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Universal design, web tracker.
So first I'm just gonna hit Windows M to go to the desktop now, which is what the first demo I was talking about here.
Start. Best running applic. Start. Best summary of speech recognition comments from the Avon report. .docx 26 of 339.
So as you can hear, I'm using the arrow keys to navigate the desktop.
Side step.
Now I can tab and hear the start button.
Start button. Control plus S. Running applications toolbar. Windows media player button. Notification chevron button. User promoted note.
So I just tabbed and you heard it taking me between the different elements on the screen. So the taskbar, which is what shows the applications, the ones that are open and the ones you've pinned to the taskbar, and then the tray, which is the bottom right where you have the clock and the volume and the wireless status and things like that. And you can use the arrow keys
1HR4 fruit.
to move through the tray. So now I'm going to go to the
Snipping tool icon 2 of MSU proposal. Docx document 1 word universal design. Universal.
where's the
Blue jeans icon 2 of the snipping to MSU document 1 install Java desktop. I login blue new tab Google considerations for testing with universal design icon 12 of the universal.
Yeah.
Greyhound document.
okay, it's in this. Okay, so I've got two websites I'm going to show here. The first one is Greyhound.
Out of list.
And so what I want to show you first is how in the From City combo box, there's actually an autocomplete that's used, and I want to show you how that's made accessible to users with a visual impairment. So I'm going to hit the E key to move to the first edit box, which is
list with 4 items. Clickable list with 2 items. Email or ID. Password. Out of list. Password edit. Clickable from combo box. Collapse. Editable.
so I want to be on the From combo box. I'm hitting enter to open this up, and then I can just start typing. I'll just type let's see, the zip code for Ann Arbor's
48103 expanded. List Ann Arbor, my 1 of 5. Ypsilanti, my 2 of 5.
and you can hear it's actually reading these cities out loud.
Ann Arbor, my 1 of 5. To combo box collapse.
So they've done coding on this website to make sure that it's not only accessible for users with the mouse, but also to users with the screen reader who are using the keyboard. And if I tab again to the calendar, you'll hear it tell me how to navigate the calendar with the keyboard.
Add departure trip date in format mm/dd/yy edit expanded required. You can use the arrow keys to navigate the calendar and press enter to select a date. Blank. Wednesday, November 16, 2016. Blank. Thursday, November 17, 2016. 11/17/2016.
So another thing I wanted to show and talk about is heading hierarchy. So for users who use screen readers, heading hierarchy is very important because since you can't see the entire page, it's nice to be able to move by section. So there's different heading levels. There's heading level 1, 2, and 3, which obviously sort of a heading level 2 is a subsection, and then a heading level 3 would be a subsection. So this page is done very well. So what I'm going to do first is hit the 2 key. You can hit, say, 1 to move by heading level 1, 2 headings at level 2. So I'll hit 2 to move to the first heading here.
There's a lot to like on our new buses heading level 2.
And if I hit 2 again,
Hotel savings heading level 2.
now we're at hotel savings being read.
There's a lot.
Now if I hit, now I hit shift plus 2 to go back a heading. So you can combine shift with 1, 2, or 3 to go back. And so now I'm back at
There's a lot
to like on our buses. Now if I were to move by heading level 3s, you'll hear the things that there actually are on the buses that you can that they're sort of pushing here. So
free Wi-Fi on every.
Free Wi-Fi.
Individual power outlets.
So they've got this website set up in a way that you can move by headings and navigate. So another thing I want to show on this site is there's actually a button that you can click, and it sort of expands some edit fields and some different things that allow you to check information about your booking. But since the page doesn't refresh, if you're blind, it's very difficult to know what's happened. So they've added, and you'll hear that when I...
No next. List with 3 items. Retrieve your booking button collapsed.
So it says it's collapsed. Now if I hit enter on the button for retrieve your booking,
expanded.
It tells me that the button's now expanded. So now I know that there's content.
Clickable confirmation number. Edit.
This is the confirmation you get when you book a ticket. And so it tells you can enter it down here. So I've kind of shown here now what I want to show on a good site. So now I'm going to show the bad site, which is azus.com. And I guess sort of as just a little bit, like I don't have any affiliation with either of these websites. I just chose them. They just were the first I could find that were accessible and inaccessible.
Asus USA, clickable linkers. List with 5 items, clickable products, clickable what's new, clickable commercial, clickable support, clickable link store, out of list with 3 items, clickable link login, clickable, out of list edit, button, link ZenBook 3.
So you heard it say, like, there's a lot of things there, but all these things are clickables, and they're not marked as links or standard HTML buttons or links. They're all just like clickable divs. And so the screen reader can't move to them very well. There's really no way to move between clickable divs. They're not marked as links or buttons. Also, if I click on
link ZenBook 3,
let's say ZenBook 3, it's reading different products. But if I were to hit enter on support,
list
so I'll go up to it.
clickable support.
It changes content on the page, but the screen reader doesn't tell you. So I can read down to read to that.
Out of clickable, out of list edit, button, list with 2 items, link consumer, link commercial.
So now it's reading the support, but if I didn't know, like, actually the way I knew is that actually the first time I looked at this website, I had the Firefox developer tools open, and you can see things changing in the DOM. But if you don't know about web coding and this would be a very difficult site to use. And the same thing sort of happens
when you
click on these other things.
List, clickable support, clickable commercial. Click out of list button, link ZenBook 3, impossibly powerful, link ZenFone 3 Deluxe.
And the other thing here is the search edit box and the button are unlabeled. So if I hit Shift B to move to the button, it just says button. So you don't, and I guess it has like an image with it, but there's no like text.
Edit.
The same with the edit box, it just says edit. There's no text to go along with the edit. And on this website, it's not too much of a problem. I think you could sort of gather that it's a search edit box and a button because it's the top of a site, but some sites you'll go to would just have all unlabeled buttons and edit boxes. I mean, imagine if you're trying to fill out, say, you're trying to book a plane ticket and all the edit boxes are unlabeled. I mean, how will you know what to type? Which fields your name go in, which the credit card number goes in or something like this. So I guess it sort of wraps up the end of my demo here. I sort of wanted to just sort of do a bit of an exercise. I'm kind of wondering, does anyone have sort of any ideas here? So this is sort of a question I'm sort of posing to the audience. If anyone has any ideas of sort of devices that are not just for blind people, where audio technology like this and speech technology might be useful.
How about a photographer in the darkroom?
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the examples, and so another example we have that I thought of was actually something that a lot of people probably use. The iPod Shuffle, the new iPod Shuffles actually have a screen reader built into them called VoiceOver. They don't have a screen, and they have a button you can press on them to hear the current song and battery life read aloud. So it's basically, and VoiceOver was actually first on the Apple computers for blind people, but then someone had the idea, wow, this is technology that is designed for people who have visual impairments, but is actually useful to everybody. Because I mean, everybody you could be in the car and you hear a song on your shuffle and you go, geez, what is that song? You can press the button and now you know what it is. So you can maybe buy it on iTunes when you get home or look it up on Spotify or something. I don't know. That kind of wraps up my demo. I'm going to kind of turn the floor now back over to Jane to talk about other sorts of assistive technology and some other concepts related to universal design.
Exit.
All right. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Get my chain fell down here.
It's actually right behind you.
Right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So, some other accessibility issues. Screen readers are the most looked at in terms of accessibility testing and accessibility awareness, both because they present the largest technical problem. They have to substitute for both the monitor and the mouse. And because the National Federation of the Blind is the most litigious organization and is filing the most lawsuits around accessibility. So people have paid a lot of attention to screen reader accessibility. But there are other accessibility issues as well. For example, some people use the keyboard exclusively as an alternative to the mouse. They're able to see the screen, but they use the keyboard for navigation. And just because a website works with a screen reader doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work with keyboard-only navigation. What you heard when Brandon was doing the demo was you heard the screen reader reading the underlying code. But there are also features built into the screen reader that help you navigate based on that code. If you don't have the screen reader, but you're still trying to use the keyboard, you're not going to have access to the same features. And one of the things that happens very often in pull-down menus, a screen reader doesn't care whether a menu is physically pulled down or not. It's still going to read it. But for a keyboard-only user, if there isn't a way to activate that menu without using the mouse, they're not going to be able to access the menu. So that's going to be a problem. Text-to-speech. For a lot of people with learning disabilities, it's very useful to be able to see and hear text at the same time. So a text-to-speech program, again, as compared to a screen reader, screen reader is reading the underlying code, text-to-speech is WYSIWYG. It's just going to be reading what you see, because if it's reading a bunch of underlying code and somebody's expecting to hear and see something simultaneously, it's going to be confusing. So again, just because the screen reader works well with it, you still want to take a look and make sure the text-to-speech reader is working correctly, interpreting the page correctly. Finally, speech recognition. The bane of my existence is Star Trek, because in Star Trek, everybody hops up to the computer and it recognizes everybody's voice right away, perfectly. We're not by any means there yet. So speech recognition substitutes for the keyboard. You can use it for dictation. Sometimes also substitutes for the mouse. You can use it for navigation purposes. But again, if the page is not coded correctly, speech recognition, keyboard only are not going to work right. One of the biggest issues, for example, is with JavaScript. There's something called an event handler. And you can have event handlers that will take any type of input. And you can have event handlers that are specific to the mouse. And if you're using the event handlers that are specific to the mouse, not going to work with keyboard-only access, not going to work with speech recognition. And guess what? It's not going to work with a touch screen either. So, and I understand there are a couple of devices floating around these days that take advantage of touchscreen use, which actually started out as assistive technology. So, coding to make sure that you've got accessibility in there is really opening the gate. Accessibility is really the original BYOD. And people choose to use a variety of devices across the board now, but if you program for accessibility for devices that people have to use, then you're opening up a lot of positive potentials for people using devices that they choose to use. So we've talked about perceivable, we've talked about operable, we've talked about robust. One way that universal design really comes in is under understandable. So, for example, on your website, you want to use consistent navigational elements. If somebody sees a next button or somebody encounters a next button on your website, you want to make sure that the button looks the same, is labeled the same, functions the same, is located in the same place across your website, so that when people encounter that button for the second and third and fourth time, it's going to be familiar, they'll know what to do with it. You want to help users avoid and correct mistakes. If somebody is unfamiliar with the form that you're asking them to fill out, let's say you have a field where they're supposed to put in their phone number. A good way to help avoid mistakes is to format that field so it only accepts a numeric string. Barring that, if they skip over the site or they put in incorrect information, you want to have a way to prompt them so they can easily go back and address the error. You want to use markup to identify language. Brandon was demonstrating a screen reader in English, but there are screen readers that speak just about any language under the sun. And if the website is not coded, say, to let the screen reader or other audio output device, other audio output software know that the page is in Spanish, what you're going to have is a Spanish page read with English pronunciation. And that's really funny the first time. And the second and third time when you're trying to study for that exam, not quite as funny. So it's like 9 characters of code, but it makes a huge difference. And finally, you want to avoid juvenile ovine syndrome. Juvenile ovine syndrome. A very young woman whose first name is believed to mean bitter happened to be in possession of a juvenile ovine, the fibrous pelt of which approximated the pigmentation of crystallized precipitation. 56 syllables. Anybody want to put it into 13? You saw the demo yesterday. It's not fair. All right, a hint, an ovine is a sheep. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. So, we're a big university, we like to use big words, but to write things simply, and there are resources that can check your writing to say, this, you could write this so it's a little more intelligible to people with learning disabilities, cognitive disabilities, people for whom English is an additional language, people who are not familiar with the topic that you're writing about, and so forth. There are ways on almost any piece of writing to boil it down so it is comprehensible. So I gave a few examples, but who else benefits from sites that are understandable? Everybody. Oh, I like that answer. That makes it a very short exercise. Yeah, but in fact, I think you get the chocolate.
What's your next question?
Sorry, that's the end of the chocolate. I apologize. But yeah, I mean, if you have something that's written so that people can understand it, that's organized so it's clear. One thing that drives me absolutely nuts is you go on to a commerce site for a brick and mortar location, and they list everything except the address and the phone. And you have to dig like 3 layers down. Well, first of all, that's going to be annoying for screen reader users because they're going to have to listen to a page and then go to the next page and just keep flailing around until they find the information they're looking for. And it's going to be confusing for anybody who is just trying to find some very basic information, and again is going to have to flail around and keep digging in until it's in front of them. So, yeah. Thank you. Whoops. So, Brandon, if you come back up for a moment, do you want to talk about some resources?
Yeah. So, the big UM resource we have is so we have the website on accessibility, and that's run by our very own Scott Williams, who's very excellent, working in the Office of Institutional Equity. and he puts that together. There's phenomenal links on there to other sites and resources and a lot of other things. Also, we have the WAWG, or Web Access Working Group. That is also sort of headed up by Scott, and it meets once a month. Usually what we do is so there sometimes we'll have presentations, and we also take opportunities to be voluntarily picked on, I guess, in a nice way. And we look at a website and we sort of talk about some of the things that can be improved about accessibility. And to be honest with you, it's not just picking on others. I mean, geez, I've learned through these meetings some things that I do wrong, even as someone in accessibility. So it's great. Everybody learns from them, and they're great. There's also a very, very active mailing list around the Web Access Working Group, or Web Accessibility mailing list, and all different sorts of topics are brought up on there about from everything from coding to sort of outreach and everything. It really, since I've been here, it really covers just about everything. So it's really kind of good, good group to get stuck into or connected with.
So if you want to be added to the listserv, Scott's email is swims, SWIMS, @umich.edu. A few years ago, some of us put together some instructional accessibility tips geared primarily toward faculty, but applicable to everybody. Just some very simple, low-hanging fruit about how materials and classes and so forth can be made accessible. Everything from don't turn your back to the class while you're giving a lecture, because then people who are deaf or hard of hearing are going to have more difficulty hearing you, all the way to this is how you can start to implement some basic web accessibility. Outside the university, WebAIM, webaim.org, WEBAIM, is probably the best resource around finding information on just about any accessibility question, any part of the WCAG, or any other accessibility question that might come up. They also have a very active listserv. So that's a really good basic resource if you do have practical questions about how to implement accessible forms or accessible tables or just about anything out there. So what we'll do now is open things up for questions and answers, and if there are none, we've got an additional exercise for you. Yeah.
I would really like to see how the ITS homepage does.
Okay.
It seems to be a complex page. I don't know how it would work.
If I bring that up, Brandon,
Yeah.
you do the honors.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
What is the URL?
its.umich.edu.
Okay. All right. And all yours.
Welcome to NVDA dialog. Welcome to NVDA. Most commands for controlling NVDA require UM information and technology. Clickable link skip to main content. Banner landmark link skipped. Link live chat. Banner landmark regional campus and executes the.
So I just tested first
Visited.
the skip to main content link, and that did take me to the main content of the page. These skip links sort of help you skip over I guess they call it the sitemap, or the navigation to go to other parts of the site. So I'm just going to kind of use the arrow keys at this point and read down. I haven't looked at this in a while, so it'll be, I think, good for me and everybody who just.
Banner landmark visited link info navigation landmark heading level 2 search form. Edit has autocomplete button. Search edit has autocomplete. Enter the terms you wish to search for button. Search button search. Link about it bullet.
So there is, I guess it's for styling, but there are two buttons there. One of them is a search button, and one's just an unlabeled button.
Banner landmark list with 7 items. Link computing.
There's lists, so this isn't it's sort of just an unordered list here. So this is very good for reader users to sort of group things into lists. I guess this is something that we learn, I guess, in psychology, right? To sort of have lists of things that, and sort of, you can categorize things, and you can, instead of being overwhelmed, you have groups of
List
related
with
items. So lists really are
link
helpful.
backup, link computers, link email and calendar, link printing,
Brandon,
link
is
web
it
and
clear
mo,
that you're in the menu?
link Wi-Fi and net.
I would say it is. Yeah, there's a list. So everything is broken down into lists. So it's pretty easy to tell what you're going through here.
Out of list link communication. List with 4 items, link collaboration, link telephone, link television and video, link video conferencing. Out of list link academics and research. List with 2 items, link teaching and learning, link research. Out of list link enterprise. List with 6 items, link administrative system, link data, link Wi-Fi and networks, link security. Out of list link security and privacy. List with 6 items, link protect first, link out of list link accounts and access. List link out of list link get help. List with 5 link out of list blank. Out of list heading level 2, what does it provide? 63. Campus computing sites, blank, 160k, Google accounts, blank, 2.8k, courses in Canvas, information and technology services provides technology and communications service and executes the regional camp link live chat, heading level 2 UMIT news, list with 5 items, Kelly Trosvik to the UM's first vice president for information technology, 10/20/2016, services and support. Link http://record.umich.edu/articles/ Kelly Trosvik become UMS first VP information technology. Protect personal information with 2-factor authentication. 11/14/safe computing. Link http://record.umich.edu/articles Michigan app helps researcher trans 10/28 Michigan app helps researcher 10 link right. 2-factor authentication now an option 10/20.
So if you were really
To link right. 2-factor university beginning next Fed 2 Michigan app helps researcher.
So if you're really going to try and navigate this, these are all marked as list items too, all the articles. So this is pretty good to navigate.
Out of list Trosvik. New change your password heading level 2. 2016 Michigan IT Symposium.
Now I'm just moving by headings to the page with the H key.
C tools project sites going away heading level 2. Need help. Heading level 2. Report an IT security incident heading level 2. Content info landmark information and technology services visited link heading level 2. List with 4.
So does that kind of give you an idea, or is there maybe more of the page like in a different area you wanted to see? Does that kind of give everybody an idea?
Down into the footer now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I figured we were kind of getting to the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do people have questions about what they were hearing with that?
Just had a quick question. When you were in the main menu, Brandon, and you were going through it, each of the menu items, you're kind of going through each of the sub-menu items themselves. Was there a way for you to go through the top level menus without going down through each item essentially?
The answer is I'm not sure. Oh, so the way this is done is they are just underlyingly links, and then I guess CSS is making it into a menu because they're just links with lists of links that are in each menu. So there's just code that's making it look like a menu, but underlying the visual styling is just links with, links in a list, and then there's a sub list with each menu, with each, the descendants of the menu. Does that make sense? So the items in each menu are sort of a sub list of the main list.
Okay.
So, Brandon, do you mind if I turn off the screen reader and see if I can access that menu?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Keyboard only?
Okay, sure.
Okay, thanks.
If I move away here.
H stay connect 1H notific NVDA don't exit OK.
Okay, so I'm going to refresh the page and start hitting the tab key. Okay. And one of the problems, one thing that I didn't talk about, that again will affect keyboard only users, will not affect screen reader users, is if you're tabbing around, you want to see a visual indicator of where the focus is on the screen. So if I hit Shift Tab to go backward, theoretically, I'm in the incident report, I'm in need help, learn more, find out more. but it's not giving me a visual indicator. So this would pass screen reader muster better than it would keyboard only testing. One thing that I'm going to point out, read more news. One thing that screen reader users often do is to speed up getting through the page, is to extract a list of links. So you want to make sure that any links that you have will make sense when read out of context. Read more news is kind of on the fence. Read more is definitely not going to make sense out of context. Yeah.
It doesn't do the same for emails, HTML.
Can you explain?
A read more link if listed in or
Yeah.
It'll extract those links first.
Can you extract links from an email?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Okay.
having like read more about whatever is much better than just read more is not so good of a link.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm going to shift tab back to that menu. Okay. So in this case, the menu is set up correctly because as I tab, it's going to let me go. The menus are going to expand and I can continue to hit tab. And then let's say I want to go to communication telephone. I've got visual focus on that and I can just hit enter and get there. And visual focus usually is what they call the marching ants. It's that little broken line rectangle around wherever the focus is. So you want to make sure that those are not deactivated. You want to make sure that those are going to show up. One final thing that I'm going to do on this, I'm going to go up to the top of this page. Brandon was talking about a skip nav link, which lets you bypass redundant information and get into the unique information on a page. And in some cases, people set up a skip nav link so that sighted keyboard only users can access it as well. I'm just checking. And see, skip to main content. So this is a terrific skip nav link because sighted and blind users can use it equally well. One final thing that I want to point out that's also very well done on this page is you've got a breadcrumb trail. So if someone is digging into the page, they're not sure where they are, they can go up to ITS/communication and be able to navigate back to where they had been. So that's a terrific accessibility feature, but it's also great universal design. So any other questions or any other pages people would like us to take a run at? I will point out that we did talk to several people. A lot of the ITS pages have gone over to Drupal. And so we talked to a number of people before that happened, expressed some accessibility concerns, and they have been addressed beautifully. So for the most part, we're in really good shape. Yeah.
I have a question for the room. Were there any aha moments? There's something that was shared where you said, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Or was it an aha moment for you?
When I've seen this done before, particularly hearing the speed at which Brandon's normal screen reader reads the text out is always amazing to me. It's just a blur which he normally hears things. So it makes me really aware that you've got to be, more economical in terms of words. I mean, that's true of universal design as well. That we've got to really pare down our content. But also, we don't want to overload pages with a bunch of content that somebody's got to slog through all of that.
And one thing that's nice about the reader that I demonstrated is that voice can actually speak different languages, and it can speak accents within those languages. And people are always adding. It's called eSpeak, and it speaks. Like I know it speaks pretty well in Spanish, and it speaks. I think like French too. I think it has a bit more trouble with some of the Mandarin languages, but it does speak them. So there's always work going on to improve. There's work in progress on like over 150 languages for it. So it's pretty extensive for the different support that it has for, and even dialects within English. Like it speaks sort of like an English, like a U.S. English, more of a kind of a Canadian English, and kind of a Scottish English. So there's all different types of, which is helpful for someone maybe if they are from a certain area, they might feel more comfortable listening to it speak, and maybe from the U.S. Like I have mine set to the American English dialect, and that maybe helps understand it a little bit better.
And also over at the Knox Center, which we run, we also have Braille translation software, which can handle even more languages. So the Duxbury, I know, for example, can handle Esperanto, and if I'm not mistaken, it also handles Klingon. So, but one thing that I want to say to kind of demystify the speed at which most users listen to screen readers, I used to share an office with 2 screen reader users, and who had it going probably even faster than you heard today. And after hanging around them for a while, my ears started to figure out how to pick up what it was saying. So it's a question of practice. It's a question of familiarity, getting used to that computer voice. But, it's just like initially you start when you're learning to read visually, you start with letters and then go to phonemes and words and phrases. Same thing with audio. So that's why people can get as fast as they can.
Can you toggle back to our slides?
Yeah.
One. Yes. So this was one of a series to promote the web strategy. Thanks to the faces we saw last time that are backing in, and to the new ones that have been here today. Our next one will be about consumable information. If you go to the ITS website that we were just looking at, in the footer, there is a link to the ITS web strategy. All of these sessions were designed to be tip of the iceberg, get you interested, help enable some decision making and some practice. But there's a lot more to discover there on your own time. If anyone has not signed the sign-in sheet, please do, because we want to send out a follow-up survey. And also, these have been recorded, including the first one, so if you didn't make it, we're currently in a fun process of captioning the last one, thanks to YouTube changing some things in their auto-captioning. They will be posted within the web strategy website, contextually, in the right locations, and we'll make you guys aware when those are available. We hope that these will be living guides towards training and understanding in the future. So thanks again to Brandon and Jane.
And Mike.
The date, thank you. The date is today, so if you want to December
So the next one is
13th right now.
1 o'clock. That'll be at Arbor Lakes in the dome, in the South Dome. On December 13th.
Great job, yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.